Episode 276. Papalymo's gone, and in his place there's this huge orb sealing some kind of primal over Baelsar's wall. Nita seems inconsolable. Let's see what everyone has to say. It has been explained to me what that light represents, but I've ordered our forces to stand ready. It seems we can do little else but wait. You hear? I understand only too well the desire to reclaim one's homeland, but I cannot condone such slaughter. Hilda. Every Ishgardian gets taught that the Sea of Clouds turns in the grip of the warring elements of water and wind, enough to tear you apart, they say. No one's ever gone to the bottom of the abyss and lived to tell the tale. So how did that bastard manage to get his hands on Nidhalg's eyes? We know just from one of the post-patch cutscenes that the Warriors of Darkness helped with that, but I guess that doesn't really explain how they got to the bottom of the abyss. And I feel like we only really got an explanation for what that abyss is starting recently. And the people that knew Papalymo. Tancred. Papalymo knew what he was doing. They could not refuse him. Alvinode. How many more must we lose? Yeah, it's a lot in a short amount of time. Why? Why didn't they let me stay? Papalymo is my friend. I should have been there with him. We kind of tried to stay behind ourselves too, then Papalymo forced us off. It was actually kind of a neat moment. You could see it in his eyes, Ida. He knew what he was doing. What had to be done. Master Louisoix wore that same look, right before the end. Literally, yeah. As if mirroring that one opening cutscene from the beginning of the game. Do you think I don't know that? I know, all right. I know. There's nothing more you could have done. Aelbert caught us all off guard. Even Comor was powerless to stop him. Yeah, powerless. There's that word again. How does it feel, Comor? If you must blame someone, then blame me. Just promise that you will never forget what Papalymo strove to protect, or the lessons he tried to teach you. Don't speak to me. Leave Ida with me. Go on. Go back to the Rising Stones. The others need to know what happened here. It's all very sudden, where a main character just sort of dies like that. But the thing is, I guess, he was only brought back to the story very recently. From a writing perspective, it sort of feels like, well, I'm not sure. Like they just wanted to raise the stakes or something using a character that they didn't really have plans for or something. Having said that, I feel like Ida and Papalymo are, well, even at this point, back when this first released, they were pretty popular as characters, their little banter, and even now in modern times, whatever it's called, present times, I think people still look back fondly on their dynamic, and after this it's all just kinda gone. And we've heard all of this. Leave her be. Nothing you can say will console her now. That's the same. And this one too. It's over, Papalymo. It's all over. Once again, I find myself at a loss for words. But Tancred is right. We must return to the Rising Stones and apprise our companions of all of this. Pray make your way there at once. I will send word to Ishtola and the others of our imminent return. Let us return to the Rising Stones. We must gather our companions. Sometimes I wonder what the story would be like if Papalymo was still alive even with the more recent expansions. Not all characters get used, but they sometimes evolve and adopt new, I guess, not character traits, but, well, new relationships with other characters, and we get to see new sides of each characters. And I wonder what Papalymo would be like when we introduce a bunch of new characters that come in later in the story. Or when a bunch of other characters from earlier in the story come back with a fresh coat of paint, or however you might say it. But I guess it's no point in wondering. Unless they ever do some kind of weird alternate universe thing. They actually did sort of do an alternate universe thing for Final Fantasy XI, I think. I don't really know the full details myself, but I believe there was some kind of situation where a lot of the expansions, like a number of them, actually dealt with alternate realities where, I guess, histories were different or characters were in different situations. I don't know how many expansions were like that, but as far as I understood when just looking things up on a whim, it sounded like some of the more recent or like the latest expansions from Final Fantasy XI just kind of ended with that. It kind of seemed weird to me that your last expansion for an online game would be alternate universe stuff. If they ever got to that stage with Final Fantasy XIV, like at the very end of its lifespan or something, I guess that might be interesting to see. Revisit all of the different characters from history's past or something and, I don't know, change things around. Although I guess they sort of did something similar with one of the ultimate raids. The Heavensward Ultimate, which I can't really get into myself since I haven't really played it. But it's interesting that they did a kind of alternate history thing within an ultimate raid. Anyway. No one here knows about anything until we tell these guys, I guess. Why does everyone look so grim? Has something happened? Say something for heaven's sake. It would seem you bring ill tidings, brother. Aye. Behind the griffin's mask, we found the grinning face of an old adversary, Ilberd. I know not how, but he had in his possession the eyes of Nidhogg, whose dread power he used to initiate a summoning ritual, even as we looked on. By the 12. I don't understand. To attempt such a magic requires every ounce of one's ether. No one, not even grandfather, could cast it and hope to survive. Indeed, it was ever a last resort, as I am certain Papalymo was aware. Thus did the pupil follow in the footsteps of his master, even unto the grave. I have as yet been unable to explain how Ilberd came to possess Nidhogg's eyes. In the depths of the sea of clouds, a perpetual storm of water and wind aspected ether rages. No mortal could endure such conditions. Then mayhap it was the work of an Ascian, but now is not the time for idle speculation. Kyle, I have need of your assistance. Yes, of course. We must inspect the cocoon of light, and ascertain the state of the primal trapped within. Between our respective talents, I dare say we shall glean some measure of insight. Understood. I can't promise I'll be able to sense much through the barrier, but I shall certainly do my best. As shall I. Let's be about it then. What? Without so much as a by your leave? Pray forgive Archon Ishtola her brevity. She seeketh employment, lest her grief deprive her of the will to act. A desire to comfort Ida doubtless compoundeth her unseemly haste. I too must contend with this grievous loss in my own way. By thy leave, Lady Alice, I shall honor our fallen colleague through gainful study. There exist writings which may yet further our understanding of this cocoon of light. Mayhap I was too quick to judge. Suffering to sadness and regret would be a poor tribute to Papalymo's sacrifice. Right. We must begin preparations to face Hilbert's accursed creation, without delay. What time we have was purchased at too dear a price for us to squander it. And it's a bit awkward, but this is actually the point in time where 3.5 waits for 3.55, that 2 months period before the very last set of missions come out before Stormblood. And as planned, I am going to use this time to do a bunch of side questing stuff, including all of the primal stuff for the... what were they? The Warring Triad, the last set of that, the Raid, miscellaneous high-level dungeons, bunch of other Ishgardian restoration things. But it is kind of weird to do it right now after, well, one, after Papalymo died, and two, with the threat of this primal kind of hanging in the balance with this cocoon just sort of sitting there until who knows when it's going to actually break open. My own grief is as crushing, or as a crushing weight upon my heart, and when I think of what Ida must be feeling, Papalymo's sacrifice cannot be in vain. We will find the means to deal with this primal. All I want to do is weep, but right now we need to hold back the tears and do what must be done. Yeah, this would be the next mission. I'm not sure what it's like to be in this world actually, like how much time would pass between the previous mission and this one, canonically. If it's supposed to be taken on immediately after and the 2 months waiting period between patches is just meant to be, I don't know, a few minutes in actual canon time. But we're just going to assume that this cocoon of light is going to hang there for a while. Papalymo's sacrifice was done to buy us some time to, I don't know, shore up our defenses. And I guess that's what we're going to use as our excuse to do all of these other things, deal with other threats like the last part of the Alliance raid, the Warring Triad, and all that stuff. They told us what happened with Papalymo, and I... Forgive me, there are simply no words. Coltonet greatly admired Papalymo, and aspired to achieve the same lofty heights of magecraft. His loss was a terrible blow to the Scions. Sacrificing oneself for one's duty. Such actions remind me of the warriors of Doma, of the samurai and shinobi who died for our cause. I'll get into that pretty soon. And these three. My brother may wrap himself in steel, but he is a man of tender heart. Witness his concern for the pain his dear friend endures. As much as we wish it were different, there is a limit to what our healing magic can accomplish. Even the most powerful magics can do naught for a grieving heart. I have a long road ahead before I match the Archons in skill and experience, but we must all do our part in times like this. Surely there is something I can do to help. Yeah, these guys that are mostly here for comic relief, even they're more serious at these times. Once Ida returns, I'll see that she sits down to her favorite dish. When you feel empty inside, it is easy to forget that your belly needs to be filled. Maybe speaking from experience. Wasn't too long ago with the stuff with Minfilia. And we're not going to do this right now, but I just wonder, does Unukalhai have anything to say? I don't think so. Unless we go past his quest here and underneath there's some flavor dialogue just while he's hanging out, but I don't think he would comment on Papalimo. This is actually a similar situation to this thing with Moonbrita, where there's a period of time between patch 2.5 and 2.55, where I did a bunch of things and it was just kind of an awkward time to do that after someone just died. But we're actually going to do the same thing, and actually literally do the same thing. Perhaps this is just how Komor deals with things. But we're going to go back to the Palace of the Dead, and actually maybe try to take on the floors past 100. There's no further story there, and I was actually thinking I would never even attempt these on camera. But with patch 7.31, the most recent one, in preparation for releasing a new patch that is including in 7.35, actually maybe after this weekend, a new deep dungeon. They actually went and updated the older deep dungeons because you have to go through this one to unlock the later one, for whatever reason. And in updating this, they made it a lot easier to get, well, a lot of things that you need to attempt the higher levels. So it's a lot less prep work or whatever. Easier to get sustaining potions and Aether Pool and all that, so I'm actually pretty geared out in that regard, and I'm gonna take on floor 101 as a machinist, probably the easiest class to do the Palace of the Dead as. I previously used the excuse that the Palace of the Dead is weird with magic or something to play as a gladiator just because, well, it's a tank and probably easier to survive as that. But with these later floors it becomes much more important to have high DPS on certain bosses, and also just kind of have kiting ability and high DPS on normal floors. Plus with all of these potions right here, I should be able to survive fairly well, I think. I did go ahead and get my machinist all the way to floor 101, and here's my old save file with the gladiator that went past to floor 100. I guess if I fail here as a machinist, I can just swap to the gladiator, because I might just fail immediately on floor 101. I have sort of been practicing though, so hopefully, well, I say practicing, just getting up to floor 100 as the machinist. Just hoping it all works out. And as part of preparation, I also have some creamy hot chocolate. Not sure if this is a meta thing, but I think the 8% increase should actually tide us over. So yeah, Komor is going back into the Palace of the Dead, because someone just died again, and she feels like, well, she just wants to be where a lot of dead things are. I don't know, surround herself with death just to get over it. Probably an unhealthy way to deal with things. Though I guess my last excuse for coming here was to, I don't know, find some way to achieve necromancy or something. Komor no longer has such weird goals. That would be a weird thing for the Warrior of Light to want to do. But maybe, if we can find a way to revive the dead, in floor 200 if we ever get there, maybe we'll consider necromancy. Anyway. Oh yeah, and you don't actually have to die for this achievement like I thought you do. You just have to reach floor 101. Guess we can put that on. Oh, I can't actually do that, right. Well, we'll do it when we get out. It's like a new title for reaching floor 101. And there's another title for reaching floor 200, but I might just die before I reach there. We'll just say that Komor will give up on all of this diving into this pit of despair and death stuff as soon as she gets forced out by some random mob that kills her instantly or something. Or maybe stepping on some random explosive trap or something. So yeah, I have 462 sustaining potions. There's no need to be frugal about these. We also pretty much get one for everything that we kill, and sometimes get more than one. As soon as I take like around 80%, maybe 75% damage, that's when I want to use a potion. And we still only want to pull one thing at a time, especially watching out for these patrols that wander into our territory. Probably talked about this before too when we first did the Palace of the Dead, but it's safest to attack mobs here in these corridors in between. Mainly because there are no traps to step on. Anytime you step into those center rooms, they could be anywhere around, but the safest place is usually hanging around the edges, not 100% safe like the corridors. Of course, the corridors aren't 100% safe either because patrols walk into the corridors. The thing about the Palace of the Dead is that floors 101 through 200 mirror floors 1 through 100. So what we're doing right now is going to mirror floors 1 through 10, same thing with the bosses. The scariest things to deal with are probably going to be explosive traps on the ground or luring traps. Alright, we'll take that. If we hit a luring trap, we'll probably want to use a Pomander of Witching, so that's why I want to keep my cursor on that. We also want to be quick since it becomes a risk to explore the palace for far too long. 60 minutes is not enough for some floor tiers, depending on how much enemies there are. And here we have a problem where we have to kind of go through a monster house, basically, PMD term, to even continue seeing the other side. What we want to do is avoid enemies as much as possible, and it's kind of a risk to try to walk around them and avoid them, considering that we might take a lot of damage if we pull too much. Another reason to keep the Pomander of Witching on hand. We also still want to pick up items, but it's maybe a bit of a risk to wander around too much picking up items. Okay. By most accounts, I believe Machinist is regarded as the easiest class to deal with for Palace of the Dead. Doesn't look like our passage is through there, so we do actually have to go through that monster house. Which one was this? Fortune. Okay, we'll use a Fortune. That increases the chests dropped by enemies. And we'll decide if we want to do something about that monster house using something. Oh right, seems like the passage is actually in that room. In that case, since we used a Fortune already, we're going to use this, even though it's floor 101, and this should be like the easiest floor. I'm gonna use a Pomander of Safety, and use a Pomander of Rage. Now that there are no traps, we're safe to go in and kill these things. We do want to avoid aggroing too much, since we still take a lot of damage even as this big guy. But this does allow us to kill things instantly as long as we can knock them back. Which sometimes there's a thing that prevents knockback, but not on this floor. And while we're exploring, let's just kill the rest of these guys. They might drop more useful stuff. Of course, I'm pretty stacked on Pomanders, but the main thing that we want is steal and attack. If we can manage to pick up like both of those, then we can put them on immediately. Affluence is good for the next floor. More chests there. We no longer need silver chests because we're at level 99, and those are mainly for just increasing your... well, they're the only ones that increase your armor and your arm level. Okay, good, we got another Serenity. That's very important for getting through floors that reduce your item usage or other bad effects. And also silver chests other than your arm and armor, they might just be explosives that can kill you. So we no longer want to touch those. And generally speaking, you might want to touch treasure chests in the later levels because they might become mimics. Another strength, huh? Well, what we can do is come back for this. When our strength starts to go low, it's only on an 8-minute timer. It's really nice to pull enemies into these rooms. It was hard to do it as a, well, I couldn't do it as a gladiator without a shield. We don't really want to backtrack too far for that strength. Let's just try to get a lay of the land. On previous floors, I was dealing with most enemies just to get to these golden chests, but I think we'll just try to move quickly this time. Okay, there's that thing, so let's try to clear some out. I think the key is almost ready. Let's get rid of that patrol guy. You have auto healing in between aggroing enemies, but you also want to be very careful about not using a potion just because you have auto healing. I think the passage is ready, so let's go back for that strength and, yeah, get rid of this guy. I'm not exactly sure, but I think if I were a tank class, alright. If I were a tank, then having the rehabilitation potion would mainly be a free pass through most of the floors, except for 1 or 2 bosses where they deal a certain percent of your HP as damage, so if you don't have high enough DPS to burn them down, you can't actually get through. But yeah, the healing plus tank stats probably makes it a lot easier. Even with the healing 100% uptime that you can have with these potions, it might be hard to survive as a DPS. Especially if we pull 2 or 3 mobs. Okay, we got a mimic now. Let's try to be very careful about this. Watch the infatuation. And also watch our health, because they do a lot of DPS. Don't need a silver. Oh, that's still alive. Very negligent of me to leave someone alive when trying to pull someone else. I'm just trying to maximize my heat DPS, the heat gauge stuff. The Black Eft. Oh, that's... The Black Eft is, I believe that refers to... What's his name? Oh no, this is bad. We'll finish that thought in a second. Yeah, that's why patrols are dangerous. Yeah, the Black F should be Gaius Van Belsar, if I remember that etymology or whatever. The appellation, I guess. I think that was some kind of Garlean main character of some kind that reappeared here. One of the fun things that they do here is they make certain fun characters like reappear as zombies or something. I don't know how many, but I feel like I saw Teleji Adeleji down here during my run as a machinist not too long ago. Just as a random mob. And that one might have been some main character. They don't use like the real names of the characters. They're kind of fun about it. Giving them some kind of generic name and you just have to recognize them based on what they look like or the lines they say when they die. Okay, so let's grab this chest. I don't maybe want to use alteration especially. I used it last time, but I feel like alteration is mainly good for increasing your level on the lower floors. Here at the floors 100 through 200, we're going to be at the maximum level 60, and alteration makes it so that either mimics or Mandragora spawn, and both of them are good for EXP, but the mimics are far harder to deal with than the Mandragoras. I think both of the mobs also have a high chance to drop chests. So they're good for that if you're not going for experience, I guess. Alright, then we'll use Appointment of Sight. Very helpful in general for finding the key and finding the key being the passage cairn. And also for finding the different chests in the level. Very helpful with routing, and also avoiding the traps. In that sense, I feel like the sight is better than safety in most regards. So I kind of want to hang on to them more than the safety ones. Oh wow, these guys do a lot of damage. You know what, it must have been that vulnerability up from the Yarzon. Gotta be careful with that. Yeah, it's that thing. That's what's doing a lot of damage to me. Okay, this isn't a main character, but it is just like one of these random things. I think. We still have like 8 seconds of vulnerability. Just pop the sustaining immediately. We're not gonna risk it on these little mobs. Yeah, that was a lot of damage. Goblin Rush, jeez. These guys are super dangerous. This is kind of why I prefer to be a tank. Don't need to go that way, there's no treasure, unless it's the... No, not the Accursed Horde. Alright, let's get rid of this guy before he patrols right into us. Yeah, Goblin Rush not that bad if we don't have the vulnerability up. I believe vulnerability increases the amount of, well, the chance that we get critical hit. And that's an explosion trap. Technically can't kill you, but they can reduce you down to 1% HP if you're already low on HP. And if you hit that wall aggroing an enemy, then you're dead. From an auto attack, or anything. Okay, Goblin Rush is still pretty bad even without the vulnerability. That's silver. More patrols. I'd actually probably never make it through as my gladiator, because I don't have the DPS and I never actually made that a paladin. I don't really plan on making or going through the whole paladin questline just for Palace of the Dead. So I suppose if I fail here I might just give up. Oh, that's devious. The explosive trap right next to the accursed horde. I should have used reassemble. Okay. Let's just try to activate this very carefully. And we don't have to look around for these other tests. Typically I start a floor with one less defense and one less offense commander, strength and whatever. Strength and steel. Because I use those on the boss for the previous floor and I have to recoup my losses. Okay, this is bad. It's the gloom and blind, so our DPS is down and the enemy attack is up, and also HP. We want to get through here as quickly as possible, I think. I forgot to pick up that rage after I transformed into this. Or did I? No wait, I just transformed into this even without a rage. Yeah, I usually only transform into the Manticore if there's already a rage on the floor. But maybe I should save it for floors like this rather. I guess I used it on a monster house, so that's not terrible. Use the sustaining immediately. I don't trust this squirrel, especially not in the clone. We have increased DPS now, but we don't have increased steel. Oh god. Oh no. Witching. Okay, that was almost terrible. I almost died immediately. Yeah, the sustaining is not going to get us out of there. I also have some Alamanders of Raising that will save me if I die. But I have to be careful to menu over to them immediately. They're right next to the witching, so I should be able to do that. Yeah, patrols are deadly. Especially in gloom. We just gotta get out of here. Give me a sight. All the way over there, huh? Okay, flight's good. Less enemies on the next floor. You typically don't want to use that if you're trying to gain levels on the lower floors, just so you can fight more enemies. Keep up to a level with the bosses and all that. The other thing that's kind of scary here is... enemies can just randomly spawn while they're like respawning or whatever on top of you. We have to go through this room. Let's try to get rid of this thing and go around the left side. Now that there are no traps, or now that we can see the traps, we should be okay. Don't scamper me. I can't believe these squirrels hit so hard. Alright, there's a goblin thing. Just avoid that patrol. It's going in the opposite direction, so we should be fine. I guess we can check this chest. This one's also bad, enfeebling. Makes it so you can't do normal actions. Alright, let's get rid of the Yorzon first. Sustain immediately. I hate that vulnerability, can't do anything about it. I don't have a Suna. Don't want to run into a patrol here. Let's get rid of this guy. Just trying to watch my back while fighting this. For any patrols. Oh, we're almost there. Hippogriff first. I maybe didn't need to do that. Just want to maximize my DPS again. As a general good practice, I should just avoid pulling more than one mob just because my heat might run out. Even with sustaining on through that, I'm losing or bleeding out HP pretty quickly. Frog trap, don't want that. Lust would be good to deal with enemies sometimes, but not all the time. It's kinda hard. It applies vulnerability stack, so it's good for bosses, if you know how to apply it. No, sprint is okay by me. Not the worst thing in the world. We don't want to sprint on any traps anyway. We're gonna try to get the lay of the land. As soon as we land on like the first room on a floor, I think we just want to look around and try to see what we can see. That's a very long hallway, so I think we'll explore this route first. And of course, when you first land, you want to find like a home base, which is this right here. It's kind of free of enemies and we don't have to worry about patrols immediately. Secure a home base, that's the strategy. I should maybe consider hanging on to my reassemble if I get like jumped by some scary enemies or something. But then my DPS goes down and then I'm just here for longer. Okay, good. We re-upped on Serenities. That means we don't have to worry about the no item floors, which are the scariest, considering we need these sustaining potions to survive. Bronze chests are okay, even if they have Gilmore potsherds and sometimes potions. Not the sustaining ones, but still good to have these other potions. Even if they only heal a little bit and have a very long recast time. Our DPS is about to run out, our Pomander of Steel, or Strengths. The stag hits pretty hard, so let's get rid of that. We have to kill some enemies anyway, just because that's required for the floor, the cairn of passage. Always watch your back. That's why it's good to be a DPS, or machinist specifically. You can kite and you can always attack the enemy without being right next to it, while looking behind you. I could transform to Lust and come back for that to try to deal more damage to enemies, but that seems like a time loss if I have to go back. Okay, these hornets are dangerous, I'm aware. We'd actually get out of here if we deal with this. These guys do a final sting if they don't die before you kill them, or if they don't die before they cast it, rather. Which deals like 99% of your HP. It can be avoided by just walking away from them out of melee range. And I know this, by the way, because I'm using Meigai's Palace of the Dead guide. Very useful guide for all of the floors and the bosses and things in general, with some videos included as well. I don't think I can use Lust here. I guess we can try, since we're right next to it. We'll use Sustaining, then Lust. Just because we can't do anything to heal as a succubus. It might be better to just be a normal machinist while dealing with these enemies. Actually, the DPS here isn't that great. The main idea is that you use this AoE to deal a lot of damage to the entire room, basically, if you aggro everything at once, with the stacking vulnerability. It just seems kind of dangerous to me. Yeah, we're not even healing right now, so I think we'll get out of this immediately. Our DPS is much higher as Machinist anyway. Okay, that was just an experiment to see what this does on such a high floor. Seems like Lust is no good unless we have some kind of... well, if we were like tanking with a bunch of other guys. Okay, Rage is good. We don't have the no knockback buff, or debuff. If I use Rage, then I want to use Safety or something to avoid traps. But I can't always do that. Let's try to just deal with it. If, for example, we hit some kind of trap that makes us unable to use abilities as this, or even just take a lot of damage, we might be done for. But yeah, I'll have to pick up that, that Rage before we leave. Alright, nothing here. Still 30 seconds on this. Let's try to clear out the room with the actual cairn of passage. Good. They're right next to the entrance, less likely to be hit by a trap. And just enough time. Right, we can't sprint. So quickly. Let's pick up that Rage and get on. Okay, I guess we can do that. Damn, the squirrel blocks the way. Also, according to the Magi guide, which I don't know comprehensively, but enemies aggro on one of three options, either sight, sound, or proximity. Proximity is kind of the most dangerous. As soon as you walk within a certain radius of them, they jump you. Sight is a pretty narrow cone in front of them, so you can just sort of walk around them, and even run around them. And sound, you have to walk around them, but you can also walk in front of them. As long as you're walking, you won't aggro them. Let's secure... okay, we're safe. Gotta keep this on witching. It'd be nice to get another witching back. Watch our backs. Currently no risk of... okay, that's a patrol. Rhino attack sounds pretty meaty to me. Yeah, it's pretty meaty. Another patrol. The more we get rid of, the safer it becomes until they respawn. Our rehabilitation ran out, so put that back on. Damn, another patrol. Even with this rehab on, it's pretty dangerous. We're on floor 108 now, so I could use a strength and a steel in preparation for the boss. The issue is that I only have 2 steel, and I want to be max up before we hit the next floor. Only gets more dangerous from here. I know the Hornet is proximity, and the rule of thumb, unless there are exceptions, is that anything with eyes uses sight as an aggro thing, anything without eyes is sound, and then things like proximity you just have to kind of remember, I guess. Bees have eyes, but I guess they're proximity. Okay, good. That's preparation for the boss, I think. If we're not fast though, we might have to pop another one for the boss. I guess the boss might not be as tough as the mobs down here, maybe. For the floor 110 boss, a mirror of the first boss that you fight in the original floor 10. Fortune's already active. Yeah, this boss we don't really have to worry too much about, like, scary attacks. Just normal telegraphs is what it does. Okay, there's our next floor. I think we just leave after getting that thing. No patrol sneaking up on us. Okay, flight. Yeah, get rid of enemies on next floor. Of course that means less treasure chest for us, but I think we're okay. Affluence on the next floor, even though there are less enemies, I guess. Well, flight reduces the amount of enemies, which I think also reduces the amount of rooms. So this might constrain a bunch of the chests into a smaller amount of rooms. Don't know if that's good or bad. It would be nice if we could use our Palmander of Raising and just like have that active forever. But it only works for any Palmanders work for a set of 10 floors that you're currently on. So I'd probably want to save them for harder floors. But I might just die before I even reach the harder floors, that's the quandary. This is our home base, so we're just getting rid of the enemies that are closest to this little tunnel. And our home base expands as we clear out more of the rooms. If we have to sneak around enemies, then we have to risk creating another home base somewhere else where there are less enemies. Comment of Resolution was very important for floor 100. Not incredibly important for these other floors, other than certain floors. Let's get rid of this. Or could even Rhino. Alright, let's beacon here. I guess I should take these treasure chests since I spawned them in. Might be steel. Witching, that's also good. We were down on that one. What was this one down here? Did I even look in this one? I must have. Remind me. Oh, it was lost. That's right. Just avoiding the enemies here. Okay, good. We were down on site. If we get another safety, that'd be great. Steel, perfect. Not exactly perfect. We're still... We have to use one more steel on the boss, so we'll be down to 2 before we hit the next floor. But that's fine. Alright. Floor 110 is the boss, so... Oh, I guess we have to kill one more. Let's just fill up on all of our meters for the boss, and then we can get out of here. No sneaky patrols. Looks like we're good. Generally want to wait until we're full on health before I walk into a room. In case there are like luring traps or explosive traps, or sometimes bows. Right, that's only for enemies that you kill on the current floor, make them drop more chests though. We don't need that. And here we are. How long did it take for this one floor chest as a metric? Even moving relatively quickly, around 40 minutes. Gotta keep that in mind for future episodes if I continue this. So yeah, this guy's a repeat of the boss from the first floor. We'll use that. We'll use a Lust after we do Sustaining, and we'll be careful to avoid all of its moves. It has a lot of telegraphed AoE stuff, so we just have to avoid those. And I think now that it's at 5, we take this off. That's unavoidable. Put sustaining back on, just in case. It's not over if we get hit by one AoE, so if we have sustaining on always, then that just makes us that much safer. Yeah, fairly easy to avoid this guy. Sustaining back on, after we avoid. And in a moment, the boss is down. There. Floor 110. Complete. It was actually more stressful than I thought going through the normal parts of the floor. But this is floor 101 through 110, so it is going to be harder than 91 to 100, even if we are repeating the basic stuff from the previous floors. So how much was that? 40 minutes? If I do 2 floors per episode from here on out, that's gonna mean like probably more than 90-minute episodes if these other floors take longer. I could just do 1 floor per episode, or something, up until I die, and then use the remaining 20 minutes, or 10 minutes if it takes much longer. Use that time to do something else. Random side quests or something, I don't know. Well, anyway, since we did that, we should have now, from this achievement, brand new title. I thought you had to die for this, but I guess you don't. Maybe they changed it. Okay, we are now the Lonely Explorer. Which I guess is fitting, considering we want to be alone right now, after someone died in front of us. Again. There we are. And Necromancer is a title that you get for getting to floor 200 on solo. Very hard to do as well. I guess to end off the episode, let's hang out someplace I haven't hung out here before. I don't know. I've hung out around here a lot, haven't I? Doing the Palace of the Dead those first few times. Like maybe 10 episodes or something on Palace of the Dead. Probably not that much. Still. We'll see how long this lasts, I guess, and just play it by ear. After we're done with Palace of the Dead, the first time I die, I guess I'll go and do some other things. Those other things I mentioned, including dungeons and raids and the trials for the Warring Triad and all that. I guess the reason I'm playing as a machinist, or the reason Komor is doing this in lore is, I don't know. Down in the Palace of the Dead, magic is weird, so being a normal black mage, which is her go-to, is maybe a no-go. The magic is all too weird, and I guess machinist sort of uses magic, not entirely. It uses like your internal ether or something, which is similar to how the aether pool stuff works, I guess. Just my little excuse for why we're, I don't know. Why we're not playing as a black mage, even though that's sort of Komor's iconic class in my eyes. But the real reason is that Playing as a black mage in the Palace of the Dead is, according to Meigai's guide, almost a death sentence. The only thing worse is astrologian, apparently. But we don't have to worry about that. We are the toughest class in the world that will never die to the Palace of the Dead. Now would be a good time to take a break.